Hello, Dan Alasso here with Making History. And I had a very relaxing 4th of July in northern Minnesota. I arrived a little bit too late for the fireworks, which were held on Wednesday the 2nd. But that's just as well since there was a thunderstorm on Friday evening. And then I also spent a couple of days cleaning the living space that I'm using in the garage upstairs and also my office here. People who have been following my videos regularly may have noticed not only that they've been kind of sporadic lately, but that I've made most of them in my studio apartment down in St. Paul. I've done a few book club meetings here up north, but I've really only used that corner of the office with the background of books that I had left behind. The rest of the space had become a mess of boxes and plants that I had neglected and kind of general disarray. But I will show you, it is in much better condition now. It's cleaned up and the plants are all brought back to life. Things are looking a whole lot better in here now. So all of that has been corrected, and I now have this usable space again. And I think I've mentioned in the past that I'll be teaching full-time during this coming academic year. The classes that I'll be teaching will be 2 sections of ancient and medieval world history and 3 sections of modern world history, along with 1 section of U.S. history, the second phase of that course, the Reconstruction to the Present section. I'll only be teaching in person for 1 of those modern world history sections. And I'm looking forward to this because a couple of my best students from last semester's ancient and medieval world have decided that they want to do modern world with me too, so I've signed up for that class. But that means that I'm going to have 5 online and fully asynchronous courses. And I'll only be visiting the St. Paul campus 1 day per week. So this will give me a lot more flexibility to travel up to northern Minnesota and spend a good deal of my time up here, or to do any other traveling I might like to do, and also to really make that transition ultimately to becoming a digital nomad and an online teacher. So that's a lifestyle that I'm going to embrace this year. And part of this involves me thinking more not only about the content that I'm producing for students to consume and to engage with, but also what expectations I should have for them. I had lunch yesterday with a former colleague at Bemidji State University who has just retired himself in a move that kind of gets him out from under all of the craziness and the collapse of that institution. And he said that since I've been gone, BSU has begun requiring faculty whose courses don't fill to a minimum number of students to open a concurrent online section. And this sort of makes sense, since online sections tend to attract many more students than in-person sections, and online sections almost always fill immediately. The catch is that all of the students in the course have to be graded in exactly the same way. And that could be difficult. There are some assessments that only work in a classroom, especially discussion-oriented ones and group work-oriented ones. And then there are others that are much more effective online. But that didn't matter to the administration. They decreed that everybody had to be treated identically. So I'm actually glad that I wasn't around for all of that. I do actually think that I have a pretty effective set of assessments that work across the different modes of my courses, fully in-person, hybrid, or fully online. The deeper, and I think the more interesting question, though, is what goals should I have for students' experiences in my courses? What should I try to leave them with after a semester of listening to me talk about the past and also of engaging with primary and secondary readings? I think the basic goal that I've been working toward the last several years, it's been that students should end the semester with a better understanding of contemporary issues based on historical context. Basically, the idea was that they should gain a better understanding of how we got to this time and place, based on the choices that people made in the past. Now, this does mean, of course, that I'm deliberately editing the past as I produce this history in a way that addresses either analogies or comparisons with current events and current concerns. This is, of course, highly artificial and arbitrary. There are plenty of past events and past ideas that have no direct relevance to today's issues or to the cultural climate and the controversies of 2025. But also, of course, this is the way that history is most frequently used, and especially American history, and especially in the run-up to our 250th anniversary. So I'll be thinking about that anniversary, and I will be preparing content this year addressing it, both for my college students and for online viewers. I'll also be watching and very probably reacting to a lot of what I imagine is going to be an increasing number of posts by other people, calling out events of the American past and implying or full-on describing how those are relevant and meaningful for the present and the future. So stay tuned for that. I'll also be working on transforming my content a bit more, partly so that it's a bit more direct in the ways that it approaches the themes of each course. And this will be a slightly different approach for me, so it's going to take some thought and some work and probably some experimentation. But this will be my main project for this academic year, taking those 3 courses and probably also the 4th, the U.S. History 1 course that I teach regularly, and transforming them a little bit so that they make for better online content. That way, if it turns out that I do not find myself working full-time in a university or college system next academic year, I'll be ready to offer my content to the world at large in a much more organized and efficient way. So the next step for me will be that I'm developing a weekly schedule of the work that I want to do and the types of posts that I want to put out. So you can expect that that will be beginning to show up on not only my Substack, but also on my Making History YouTube channel, which I am going to kind of bring back fully. So I hope you find this a little bit interesting, and I hope you'll be interested in following and seeing where this goes. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again very soon.